This afternoon's top stories, Acting Labor Commissioner will be featured guest on Working For You. Venezuela election delay sparks opposition anger, and the Thai is ashamed for refusing to mourn Thailand's King Bhumi Boom. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, October 19th, 2016. I am Shahira Flanders. Nationally, a formal meeting of Cabinet took place on Monday, October 17th, chaired by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. The approval of concessions to small and medium-sized enterprises, the establishment of the St. Kitts and Nevis Probation and Child Welfare Board, and a number of recommendations relating to the Citizenship by Investment or CBI program were among decisions made at the meeting. Director General of the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, Lesroy Williams, in a post-cabinet briefing, outlined the conditions for the establishment of the St. Kitts and Nevis Probation and Child Welfare Board.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Probation and Child Welfare Board will be comprised of between 7 and 12 members with the responsibilities of providing and maintaining child care centers for children in need of care and protection, providing counseling and other services for children in need of care and protection, and to parents and guardians of those children. The board, now constituted under an amendment of 2013, is also responsible for appointing both the Adoption Committee and the Child Justice Committee, which are integral to the full implementation of the Child Justice Act.
In terms of the Citizenship by Investment program, Williams revealed the recommendations that were approved.
These recommendations include an accelerated application process, a review of legislation and regulations, including consideration of a broader pool of initiatives for consideration under the CBI program.
During the meeting, Cabinet received an update from the technical team of the Ministry of National Security, comprising of Deputy Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy, inter alia. The major outcomes of the 2017 budget estimates meeting were also discussed. Acting Labor Commissioner Ms. Shernell James has been confirmed as the special guest on Wednesday's edition of Working For You on ZIZ Radio. Acting Labor Commissioner James is expected to speak on a wide range of issues relating to the Department of Labor, including rights and responsibilities of workers, the Labor Act, health and occupational safety, complying with the labor laws of the Federation, the role and function of labor commissioners/labor officers, labor and social inspection, and work ethics, among other issues. The program features government officials, heads of government departments, permanent secretaries, and other government officials who provide timely and relevant information as it relates to the social, economic, human, political, and sustainable development of St. Kitts and Nevis. Working For You is carried live every Wednesday on ZIZ, Win FM, and Sugar City Rock from 1:30 to 3 p.m. The Keon Primary School has launched its first Empowerment Week, which will run from October 16th to the 20th. Counselor at the Keon Primary School, Ms. Donna Peets, says partnership is the right equation for a child-friendly school environment, and as such, the theme Welcoming School Plus Involved Parents equals Student Success captures the focus of the Empowerment Week. The week of activities, which began on Sunday with a church service, is organized with a view to getting parents and teachers working together. Activities include Parent Involvement Day, Tag Day, Health Screening Day, Parents Workshop, Millennial Parenting, and Movie Night, all running consecutively at the school. Permanent Secretary Mr. William Vincent Hodge told the Education Media Unit he was pleased with the level of creativity being utilized by schools as they pursue the Child Friendly Schools Initiative. The Child Friendly School Initiative is a UNICEF-funded and supported program being implemented by the Ministry of Education with the intention of ensuring an environment that is physically safe, emotionally secure, and psychologically enabling. And on the regional scene, evidence has surfaced suggesting that an illegal aircraft that was earlier discovered in southern Guyana came from Colombia. It is reported that the airplane has been identified as an aircraft related to major cocaine production. HGP's Travis Chase has the details.
Colombia remains the world's biggest cocaine producer despite the Bogota's government's crackdown on drugs. That's where that illegal aircraft, which was found in southern Guyana around mid-September, arrived from. Retired Brigadier Edward Collins, who was commissioned to investigate, examine, advise, and report on the circumstances under which the foreign aircraft was discovered, confirmed this as he handed over the preliminary report to Minister of State Joseph Harmon.
The aircraft was discovered by the joint services on the 14th of September, but it was in that location long before then. There's enough evidence to suggest that the aircraft came from Colombia on its way to Guyana, which is its destination. It developed engine problems. The pilots had the requirement to conduct a certain maneuver in order not to lose consciousness. And when they got to Guyana, because the aircraft could not start, it remained there for a while. We have evidence to suggest that the residents found that the aircraft, but not the aircraft, from the site by the 18th of August.
The plane, bearing registration number N767Z, which has been confirmed to be false, was first brought to the attention of authorities sometime around September 13. As the retired brigadier attempts to dig deeper into the investigation, he has found that residents of Upakari were reluctant to provide information.
All the Tushaus were interviewed. I don't know why they were unwilling to present the information they had to the security forces. I can only assume, based on the evidence that I've received so far, that the relationship between the security forces and the villages, which are far out, is not as expected. That would be my first recommendation.
Citing the weak relationship between residents of Upakari and the security forces that resulted in residents' decision not to say what they know to law enforcement agents in the area, Minister of State Joseph Harmon said that he looks forward to the recommendations to improve communication with residents in that area.
We will look forward to the final report when it gets here, with the recommendations for improving the communication in the hinterland and our borders, and the timeliness of that information from the border to the center, where decisions have to be made. So I want to reemphasize the point that Brigadier Collins made about the importance of the relationship between the security forces and our indigenous peoples and the villages on the border.
Days before the start of the COI, a joint services team had been conducting investigations into the discovery. That team will venture into and probe the areas beyond the scope of the terms of reference of the Commission, according to Brigadier Collins. The final report of the Commission will be presented on November 16, 2016. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Venezuela's elections for state governorships have been postponed until next year, a move denounced by the opposition as unconstitutional. The polls had been expected in December, but the election board said they would now be held around mid-2017. Opinion polls have suggested the government of President Nicolas Maduro would fare badly in the elections. He recently said that economic recovery and not elections were the priority for the country. Mr. Maduro, who replaced the late Hugo Chavez in 2013, has seen his approval ratings plummet to just over 20%. His term runs until 2019, but the opposition is seeking to end it early by securing enough signatures to trigger a recall referendum. And on the international scene, the streets of Thailand have turned into a sea of black as people mourn their revered King Bhumibol, who died last week. But some who haven't worn black have been publicly shamed. More in this report.
Black as far as the eye can see. The people of Thailand mourn their late King Bhumibol. Nearly everyone is dressed in the somber colors of mourning as they line up to pay their respects at the Grand Palace and as they walk the streets across Thailand. Some Thais who are not wearing black are being criticized and publicly shamed.
I saw a couple of people not wearing black. I feel like I want to stop and ask them, are you Thai? Are you Thai? Why don't you show respect? But then I came to understand after, calm myself down that, okay, people, we need to look at the intention. People might have some limitation.
Many Thais are not calming down on social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. someone posted a photo of this man in a red shirt, shaming him for not wearing black. He responded saying that he was waiting all day at the Grand Palace and quickly ran to eat after taking off his black shirt. The wardrobe issue is on the minds of many Thais.
I feel the pressure for not wearing black, but my clothes are in the laundry.
I don't feel angry because some people don't have the right clothes. Maybe they are doing other things as a tribute to the king.
I want us all to mourn for the king. When I see some people not wearing black, I can't bear it.
A well-known newspaper columnist believes it's the responsibility of royalists to make sure the shaming does not get out of hand.
We are in the 21st century, and there are bound to be people who feel differently towards the late king, His Majesty. And how do we deal with that in a civilized way? This is a challenge. People who are well-established loyalists should come out and call for calm.
In an effort to help those who can't afford to buy new black clothes, communities like this one here in central Bangkok are setting up dyeing facilities. People can bring in their own clothes to be dyed black, or they can pick up clothing that's been donated and then dyed. So in this sensitive time, the government has the delicate challenge of pulling all sides of the mourning clothes issue closer together. With the beginning of a 12-month-long mourning period, another challenge could arise. Just how long are people supposed to wear black? Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Bangkok.
The German Chancellor is hosting French, Russian and Ukrainian leaders to discuss the war in Syria and the tension in Ukraine. The so-called Normandy format brings together the four countries who signed the Minsk Agreement, which was meant to bring peace and stability to Ukraine. Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane reports from Berlin.
It's a conflict that has dragged on for years and which appears intractable. The UN says nearly 10,000 people have been killed in Ukraine since fighting began nearly 3 years ago. Tension between pro-Russian separatists and Ukrainian government forces remains high. Some analysts think the role of Russia is integral to the problem, but also to the solution.
I always thought that eventually Russia would want to find a resolution of the situation in the east of Ukraine, because it has a very strong interest, first on the lifting of sanctions by the United States and the European Union, and second, it is very keen that Western countries recognize its presence in Crimea.
Russia's position on Ukraine has not wavered. President Vladimir Putin has said he's ready to implement the Minsk Agreement when government ministers in Kiev fulfill their commitments on constitutional reform, something the Kremlin does not think has happened so far. For the German hosts, this is an opportunity for face-to-face talks with Vladimir Putin. The German government helped impose EU sanctions on Russia for annexing Crimea. Now Angela Merkel is refusing to rule out further Russian sanctions because of its airstrikes on Syria.
The humanitarian situation there has become even more catastrophic, and this has clearly been caused by Syrian and Russian bombardments on helpless people, hospitals, doctors. We will bring this up. In light of the situation, we can't rule out any options on Syria, including sanctions.
The French president also has major disagreements with Russia over Syria and over Ukraine. François Hollande says it is urgent that free and fair elections are held in rebel areas of Ukraine.
I became personally involved along with Chancellor Merkel in the Normandy format, seeking to secure a diplomatic solution at the Minsk Accords. But progress is too slow. We need to move forward to allow elections to take place in eastern Ukraine as quickly as possible.
The question must be whether the talks being held here at the Chancellery will produce the sorts of results that all sides want to see. If past such meetings are any guide, then the answer may well be no. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy. Winds are light at 5 miles per hour from the southeast. Seas are moderate to rough with waves up to 7 feet. Small craft and sea bather warnings remain in effect. In the weather forecast, the skies today and tonight will be partly cloudy with periods of increased cloudiness and scattered showers. Isolated thunderstorms could also develop. Sunset today will be at 5:46 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:05 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good day.